Welcome to Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned, where we help guide mothers from symptoms to solutions.
We're Dr. Serena Kaufman and Dr. Veronica Schultz, nervous system specialists helping families discover the missing link in their wellness journey.
Join us as we translate complex health challenges into simple, actionable solutions for you and your children.
Because your family deserves to thrive,
not just survive. We are kind of talking about something that we're going to tie it back to chiropractic, but I want to paint a picture for you for just a second. And it's with you and your husband. Chances are, if you're listening to this, you're a mother, you have a husband, and so you are trying to figure out how to navigate certain confrontational things. And me and Serena were just talking about how, sometimes it looks like the men do one thing and the females do the other. I will say, usually it's opposite for me and my husband, but we'll just say one spouse feels like they would like to talk about something and the other spouse feels like they would like to go into battle. We're not naming names on which spouse is who, but it has a lot more to do with the fact that they are in fight, flight, freeze, fawn more than you would think, and chiropractic can actually help. So we're going to kind of talk about how getting chiropractic care is also most of the time, I would say maybe even all the time, going to improve your marriage. And if that sounds weird, I want you to keep listening because we're going to explain.
Yeah. So Dr. Veronica sent me this reel on Instagram, and it was this really cool psychologist. So the psychologist, I'm assuming he's a psychologist, was acting out a scenario in which his wife confronts him with something that she would like to talk about. Like she's expressing her feelings and something she wants to work through. And then you get two parts of his brain, like the frontal lobe, the one that's perceiving and feeling and processing emotions and then how to respond. You get that side. This is like good guy on one shoulder. And then you get his amygdala that's stuck in fight or flight. So you get his amygdala on one side, right? And our brain needs both of these. But when we're trying to work with emotions and confrontation, it doesn't have to be confrontation, by the way, but processing interactions, we want to be in our frontal lobe cortex area, not in our amygdala. And so it's going back and forth, like these two parts of his brain trying to show him how or convince him how to respond to the situation. And long story short, he kind of gets he's stuck in his amygdala, right? His body, in chiropractic terms, is stuck in fight, flight, tight, freeze, fawn, all those things. And so he perceives this interaction with his wife where she's just trying to express something that's bothering her, which is great communication, right? As she's attacking my integrity, she means bad. We should respond accordingly. Of this is an attack.
I like how he said, defend, dismiss, invalidate. That was the strategy.
Go. Yeah. There was another great line in there too. You'll have to watch the video. It's great. But what got me, because I went to the comments, is so many women were very quick, and rightfully so, right? They don't have the chiropractor's brain of how I'm analyzing this, or the psychologists of man, why are men so dumb and they do this? They are horrible communicators, blah, blah, blah. My husband always says this. And I'm just sitting there thinking, wait a minute, he has the capacity to talk to you about these things, or she, whatever, whoever's on this side of the feeling like they're attacked, but they're truly stuck in the amygdala of their brain, and everything is going to be perceived as a threat. And that was just so sad to me. And then I was like, wait a minute, we can get people out of their amygdala. And we don't talk about this in chiropractic, or at least we don't. I feel like Dr. Lauren with Mikau, I feel like she's all about this kind of thing. But a conversation is a sensory input, and it usually requires your frontal lobe and your cortex to be perceiving and organizing the words, and then how you're processing that as turning it into an emotion. And if that process is skipped and it's just an attack on who you are, that's not productive. And we as chiropractors have the ability to remove stress from your body and light up the cortex by 20%, which can down-regulate the amygdala by 20%. And so what are the implications on relationships? And so I was like, Veronica, we have to talk about it.
I was like, we could put this in the episode lineup, and she's like, it's next in that lineup. I was like, okay, heard, let's do it. And I think it's funny because I won't lie, a lot of my friends, I always relate to the husband. and I think that is on purpose. Like I'm starting to realize like maybe that is my gift, is that I actually really do see the husband's perspective almost all the time. But I also grew up in a very dysfunctional household, in which I did kind of take on a lot of the roles of a man, so it makes a lot of sense. And so that also to say, so like, I don't know, I just felt like I needed to say this: if you are a woman who does feel like you are the man of the household, you're also needing adjusted because your amygdala is firing, right? And if your husband is someone who is just kind of this like domineering, not sure how to explain themselves, always panicking every time it probably looks like, different things, but I'm gonna call it panicking anytime you address certain things, it's because he's stuck in his amygdala. So it's really exciting when you get to come here and do this, because oftentimes those people, whether you're the husband or the wife, don't feel like they have a problem, right? Because their protective mechanisms have served them well. However, when you start getting chiropractic care, you can downregulate that. Your prefrontal cortex can come up, and that allows you to see maybe there is something to this. And then you can go get help for the other coping mechanisms, like therapy, like counseling, like coaching, trauma-informed coaching, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to kind of say that if probably 90% of the people who are listening to this right now are like, that's my husband. But if you are in that 10% like me, who is always like, but what about me? Like, I also feel that way. This conversation is also for you, because all it is, it's not even about, it is, some people say masculine, feminine, and I do think that is part of it, right? But a lot of this is about the amygdala, which is in most terms the male dominant side of the brain. So I just thought I'd put that in there.
The amygdala also does the flight and the fawn, right? And those are more feminine responses. And so I just, before we started, I was like, yeah, I'm the flighty one. Of if there's conflict, I'm like, okay, bye.
Actually, I was just talking to Dr. Serena too about how my natural response is also flight, which would be more feminine, but I was taught at a young age to be a fighter, which is more of that masculine, right? So it's just kind of like, it really is, I'm kind of in the season of learning how to address some of those childhood wounds and trauma and how they still show up as an adult, right? This is what we call a situation where usually complex trauma is involved. And so this is a situation where I wouldn't say chiropractic is the only thing. Chiropractic is going to be the window for you to start healing and regulating. And then you get into coaching and mentorship and therapy and counseling to be able to truly, one, feel safe enough to do that, and two, hold on to the tools and not have to fight yourself. So I feel like I'm glad that we're talking about this, because a lot of people will start with therapy and then feel like it didn't work and feel like it was a waste of time and feel like they just couldn't find safety enough in those spaces to share what they were going through. And chiropractic should be the first stepping stone. And then once you have seen the benefits of a regulated nervous system, then you take it to a professional who can help you hold space for those things, and you'll just see better results quicker. I wish someone would have told me that, because I felt broken for so much of my teenage and young adulthood life, because I was looking toward like mentors and counseling and things to help me, and none of that helped until I got chiropractic care, felt safe in my own body to be able to admit some things that I couldn't believe I couldn't say out loud. And then that's kind of when the healing journey continued.
And I think I'm going to have Dr. Ellen, who's a psychologist who's incredible, actually on the show to talk about this, because her jam, and she'd be like, my jam, what are you talking about? Her jam is helping couples get out of that amygdala primal brain state before they even conceive, so that they're having children who can develop nervous systems that are healthy and balanced starting in utero, and then create healthy family dynamics beyond that.
Bruh.
Isn't that wild? What she likes, because we talk about so much about the nervous system develops in utero and is mirroring mom's nervous system. And so I'm going to have her on to talk about this. And I asked her, like, what would be like now, because when I explained this process in chiropractic care to her, her mind was blown. And then when she explained what her goals are, my mind was blown. So we're like, okay, what would this look like to work together for someone who's really struggling relationally? And she said, step one, get them in my office so we can figure out where is the hiccup, where are they stuck, and then what's the problem, and then there can be intentionality with chiropractic care, right? So we get them scanned, we see what's going on, and then we can see the benefits of what's going on, of Because then when we get you out of your amygdala, you can process emotions and words and feelings and those kinds of things because they're available now, right? If you're stuck in
Mhm.
fight or flight, no amount of talk therapy can get you out of that physical neurological state, right? So then
Mhm.
we're bouncing in that patient, kind of juggling that back and forth gracefully, right? We're not like, oh, this isn't working, throw them over here. Oh, this isn't working, throw them over
Right.
here. It's
Right.
this delicate dance of bringing someone out of their amygdala and also being able to process what's happening with all of that at the same time. I
Mhm.
think that'd be so
Yeah.
much fun and beautiful.
Yeah. I am excited to hear that conversation. And it also reminds me of Dr. Tony and how he's always talking about like situational awareness and how important it is to be able to get that feedback loop of, I always talk, I feel like we're kind of going back to like a tantrum talk, right? I always relate everything to kids because they're like the factory reset of adults, right? And that's honestly when your husband or your wife, whoever is listening to this, when you are stuck and you are feeling like you need to defend yourself and like argue and yell and all the things, fight, flight, freeze, right? That's really just like the toddler version of you, right? And so I always kind of take it back to, that mom who's bringing, because I see a lot of kids for behavior issues. That's kind of like my jam in the office currently. And they come in, they're like, can you help with behavior? And it's like, yes, we can. But behavior is a process because there's so many things involved. It's about being able to like one, experience what is actually happening, then be able to perceive it. Okay, it's like what's happening, how am I interpreting what's happening, and then what am I going to do with that information? And that's what it is for adults too. It's like what's happening. Okay, there's potential for confrontation or conflict or something that I don't necessarily love that makes me feel unsafe. What does that mean to me, right? Does it mean that we are communicating well and that we are going to find a way to repair the situation? Or does it mean that I'm being attacked and I'm less than and I'm right? And then what am I going to do with that information? How am I going to respond, right? And so if we can help toddlers process through that, we can help adults because you have the same nervous system. It's the same concepts. It's all about just increasing your body's ability to interpret the world around it. And that is why it's just so vital and why it's so exciting, because I feel like it's gotten to be a regular conversation why therapy is so needed. And I think that's true, but I just think we're skipping. It's all about the sequence of healing and how we need to get out of the stress stuck on mode in your body so that you can have better results and better experiences with other providers down the road, whether that's, in this case, therapy, counseling, or in other cases, PTOT, all that kind of stuff. Our job is to just help make everyone look good, honestly.
Yeah, really. Like we get the nervous system out of its own way so that all of these other therapies can shine.
Mm.
That's so exciting to me. I love putting other people on a pedestal and like, look how good they did. And then I can stand back and be like, okay, I know that we're able to get there and see those incredible results because their nervous system is shining the way it should.
Mm.
While you're
Mm-hmm.
talking, I was thinking about other examples in my practice of how I've seen like, a regulated nervous system or us removing noise from the brain create clarity in relational aspects. And I don't know, I think you were at this NECAW seminar, and Dr. Lauren was talking about in her contract that patients sign before they start care. She, like, part of the agreement is that they are going to potentially experience huge life changes while under care. Finally realize that they need to quit the job that they've been tolerating, break up with the boyfriend that sucks, big life stuff because they gain clarity. And when I heard that, I was like, dang, that's really cool. But I don't have the confidence to communicate that as a side effect yet, right?
Mm.
That's pretty out there. But now I'm seeing it. I'm seeing, so especially with the other body workers that I get to work with, so craniosacral therapists, massage therapists, people who are really in tune with what's going on inside of them, they're telling me like, wow, my brain feels so much less foggy after an
Mm.
adjustment. I felt so much more mental clarity. And there was one patient, she told me, well, I'm really struggling with some of these things with my husband. And since starting care, I've received so much clarity that I can be like, okay, that's okay. Like
Mm.
where the relationship is at and where it's going is not necessarily happily ever after, but she has so much clarity about it
Mm.
with like the significantly reduced noise in her system.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes with also like we're seeing like less headaches,
Right.
less low back pain, right? There are other red flags that come with that. But that's been, I don't know if that's cool to see or if I'm just in amazement still. I haven't asked her about those things, but she's coming to me with those things. And so is another cranial psychotherapist. And then I'm working with a dad who is just like 110% all the time, go getter. And his main goal is to lengthen his fuse and have more energy. And more days he's coming in. He's like, today was stressful, but I feel okay. And I was able to actually go to sleep tonight without taking mushrooms and like not like shrooms, but like ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha.
Not ashwagandha, not mushrooms, but mushrooms and ashwagandha and melatonin and all these things. He usually has to take so many supplements just to fall asleep. And more, he's like, okay, I feel like my fuse is longer. I didn't have to take a bunch of stuff to go to sleep. And I felt less stressed throughout my day. Right. If he's doing those things, he's able to approach his relationship with his wife and his little girl with a ton more patience as well. Right. So I might have to put that in my contract now.
Right.
I have to ask Lauren
I completely forgot about that. But I do remember her talking about that. Yeah. And it's true. It happens all the time. And I've been saying that in my office of being like, just so you know, you will be different. Like, we don't know what that different looks like. But I think it goes back to even what we were talking about in the last episode. You now have the choice, right? There's so many people who are going through life in their subconscious brain, in their hurt, in their fight, flight, freeze mode, feeling like this. And I will say, I don't want to turn anyone off to chiropractic, but it is a little bit scary, right? Because part of that sometimes is your personality, right? I know when I was in my amygdala all the time, that's who I was. I was just an angry person. I was just, like, I wasn't the problem. You are. Stop making me mad, right? And the healing journey that I went on was, yes, an inward look at, okay, maybe there were some things I could work on. And I am actually not an angry person, and I didn't have to call myself that anymore. And just that alone makes you show up in rooms differently, right? Even that, just that simple fact can change your life. But not to mention, then you start to have courage. Then you start to have boldness. Then you start to have, all these fruits of the Spirit kind of pour out of you. I hear every single day that people are closer to the Lord than ever before because of my care, because they were able to get honest about where they were at, because they weren't carrying this weight anymore that they didn't even know was there, right? So I do think, yeah, I think that's a cool thing. I haven't put it in a contract anywhere. I kind of forgot about that until you brought it up, but it really is like, I want you to sign the terms and conditions here, because this is just part of the journey. Yeah.
The potential. It's just so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a family. I'm just thinking of one family who they came in for behavior and like brain fog. The mom came in for like brain fog and fatigue, and the kid came in for behavior, very, very severe behavior. And he's going to get homeschooled now because of the work that we've done together. And they just saw how just the public school system wasn't necessarily supporting him like she wanted him to. So she's like, okay, we're going to go. Like, I very clearly heard the Lord say that we should homeschool. And I don't think I would have been as confident as I am today of doing that had it not been for this work. And so it's just, yeah, you get to fully step into what the Lord calls you to, and you're not as afraid to do it because you know you have the capacity to do that.
Yeah, that's cool. When I hear you say that, I'm like, wow, she has a cool job. Dr. Stephanie with Bait and Brace Cairo on Instagram, I love her stuff. And she recently posted something about, like, does your job involve bringing heaven down to earth? Right? Because that's what you should be pursuing. Like, how can you bring a piece of heaven down to earth? And I truly believe we get to do that, right? Like, we get to help people, like, help their spirit shine through their vessel and express life the way God designed them to express their life.
Yeah, and heal the parts of their, heart and soul that is preventing that. Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. I love how that.
Yeah, because these traumas, thoughts, and toxins that we talk about, it's like fallen world, right? Like, we shouldn't, like, we weren't designed necessarily to constantly be filtering and processing all this emotional stress, chemical stress, and physical stress, right? That's all from sin. And so, yes, we were designed to be adaptable, but were we designed to be as adaptable as what we have to be now? I don't think so. Right. So to have the help of chiropractic care to be removing that stress that's harboring in our body. Yeah. And then when we get to heaven, I don't have a job. And that's great. Right.
Right.
So
Yes, exactly. It'll all be done for us. And yeah, I don't know how deeply spiritual you want to get. Maybe someone already is like, whoa, this is too much. But it really, the laying of the hands, right? Like that is a spiritual gift. And we get to do that in our office every day. And so if you are listening to this and you're like, okay, well, what's that have to do with me? It's contagious, right? Because we have answered this call in our lives and we're stepping in our spiritual gifts and our God-given task of bringing, I love that. I haven't actually seen that post, but bringing heaven on earth, you get to do it too, right? It's just this ripple effect. And I actually just went on a retreat where we got to talk about that, about how, when you say yes, when you are willing to do this work, you give other people permission to do the same. And it might start with your family and then branch out to your children. And then who knows who they're going to impact, because they are the world changers and the trailblazers, right? Like, you got to set them up for success. And they also, I'm sure will make mistakes. I think about that all the time. Like, what will my daughter be talking about in therapy because of what I did, right? But we know that she's starting off with a well-rounded, adaptable nervous system. We know that she'll have the same tools that I have found. She'll never not know where to turn with it. And I think that is kind of like our blaze to trail. And then other people will get to do that same thing. And it's about creating that legacy.
Amen. Well, this was like kind of a wild card, but I liked it. And I think for the next episode, I'm going to try to time it so that we can get Dr. Ellen on and really talk more about what does this balance and dance look like if we incorporated chiropractic care with cognitive therapy care for these really tough, stuck in fight or flight cases where it's really impacting their interactions with the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool. I also have a partnership in Iowa. Because Dr. Serena, you're in Idaho, right? And I'm in Iowa. Mm-hmm. And our very first partnership was with a therapist who was specialized in neuroscience and EMDR. So I think the Lord is already opening the doors to say, like, this is needed. This partnership is needed. Because like I said, it's nothing comes to mind. It's like complex. It's a very complex situation. But when you pair the two together, just amazing things happen.
Okay, I'll pray us out.
Okay.
Dear Lord, thank you for gifting us the gifts of laying hands on people. Wow, what a blessing, and sometimes feels like an undeserved honor to be this type of light in the world that you've created, Lord. Thank you for giving us answers and pathways to help all of us with different modalities of cognitive therapy, EMDR, chiropractic, what have you, to bring pieces of heaven down to earth, Lord. And please give us the capacity and the will and the strength to continue doing this work for you. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, we're gonna see. The next episode might be with, is it Dr. Ellen instead of Dr. Serena?
Ellen Bouchon.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. And then if that doesn't happen in time, it could be, it's not adrenal fatigue, it's a misfiring stress system. So either way, we're going to hear from Ellen and Dr. Serena and what they have. So we will see which comes first. So stay tuned. We might just be a surprise what our next topic is about.
Thank you for joining us on Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned.
We hope today's episode helped you connect the dots in your family's health journey.
Remember, this is where nervous system health meets motherhood wisdom.
Until next time, we're Dr. Veronica Schiltz
and Dr. Serena Kaufman, supporting you as you nurture your family's well-being.
Because when you're aligned, everyone thrives.